Awesome. So just on time. So hi everyone. So we're back with another interesting session, and something that I'm particularly excited about. Have with me two esteemed speakers and also old colleagues. So this is definitely the first time we've done something like this. So exciting to sort of see what the session brings and also want to learn from you folks. So today I have with me Christine and Pavithran, and today we will be talking about a little more on the topic of Industry 5.0, right? And how business transformation itself needs to sort of evolve, or what sort of goes into this whole aspect of it when you bring in Industry 5.0 and the key pillars of Industry 5.0, for example, right? So I'll let our speakers introduce themselves and say, I think over to you, Christine.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. So, as you mentioned, my name is Christine Strobush, and I've got a short story here to share, and it's going to set the stage for what we'll be talking about. So, nearly 5 years ago, I was serving as the Deputy Chief Transformation Officer for a global industrial manufacturing company called Flowserve. And that business transformation program, it was enterprise in nature, extremely complex, and it touched virtually every part of the organization. And as you can imagine, the days were long. The work, it was very rewarding. But I will say my family didn't really see me very much those few years. So one moment, though, that's in my mind, I can just visualize it and I'll never forget. I distinctly remember sitting at this beautiful restaurant in Lake Como, Italy, after we had an incredibly long but successful global leadership summit. And I was sitting there with my colleague and friend Sonal, and she and I began to dream of having our own business. And we were so inspired by the beauty of Lake Como, we made what we called the, and I'll do air quotes, Como Promise, that we would harness our extensive transformation expertise. And one day we were determined we were going to create our own business. Well, little did I know, less than 1 year later from that moment, the pandemic hit, Flowserve had a bad quarter, and virtually our entire transformation team was laid off, including Sonal and I. And 25 days later, we remembered that promise and we launched the Como Group. So, as a high performing executive, getting laid off, it's a very difficult thing to experience. But I will say it was one of the best things that happened in my life, because now I get to spend every day working for myself, working with people like you guys and helping people and businesses to grow through high value, people-centric transformation solutions. And I love this topic and I'm so excited to be here. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. I think that's something that I had no idea in terms of when you said the Como group, it's something to do with Lake Como, and I don't think there's too many places in the world that can really captivate you and take
Oh,
you to a
yeah.
different place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think thanks Christine for taking time and being part of this, and we appreciate your insights and hope to hear from you more. Right. So I think over to Pavithran, a quick introduction from our end. So that'll be great.
Yeah, thanks, Nitin. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Pavithran. I'm CIO and also leading the digital IT business. As Christine mentioned, I had a privilege working with Christine for more than 5 years at Flowserve, while she was, leading the transformation and other groups. So I was part of India Asia Pacific team running the IT operations and digital initiatives. Nice reconnecting you with Christine again. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Nitin.
Fantastic, great. So just on the topic, guys. So I think this sets the tone, right? So this started off a few weeks ago, in fact, and we were thinking about what to sort of talk about next, right? So we're something that the industry would want to look out for, something that our LinkedIn community would also want to listen to, and that's when all this hype around Industry 5.0 and things like that, right? And then we were like, okay, there's a human element to this whole thing, right? And the people-centric approach, and that's when and Christine and Pavithran came together for this, and we're excited to see what this comes about, right? Right. So, a couple of quick things about the session. It'll run for 30 minutes, so another 25 minutes to go, and we will have time for a few question and answers towards the end. If you have any points, or if you have any insights, or even some questions for our speakers here, do feel free to drop it in the chat box, and we'll get to them. And and yeah, so let's start with this, right? So the whole uh, concept of Industry 5.0, I would say, right? So it's still something that global leaders, driven from predominantly the European side, who sort of started to coin this whole Industry 5.0 and the fifth revolution and things like that. So at a concept level, it talks about how uh, it extends the concepts of Industry 4.0, but sort of tries to bring in a human-centric focus into how you can build uh, sustainability, increased resilience, and sort of have that collaborative workforce and the digitalization aspect of this. And I think it's still fairly new, and when I say fairly new, there's still limited understanding of how this can come about, while sort of striking that balance. But I think it'll be exciting to see what the future holds, right? So maybe the first question to Christine, right? So what do you think is the influence of Industry 5.0 on business transformation as a whole itself, right? And some of what are some of these factors or the influences that it can have when organizations typically consider some journey like this?
Nitin, it's a great question. So I do have a slide on this. If we could pull this up, and I'd like to start with just the foundation of what is business transformation, because this really, regardless of where you're at, business transformation in our book, it starts and it ends with people. When you invest in people, they will create a company culture. Now, we know that culture starts at the top. So from the CEO on down, leadership is critical, but we've got to think about the people. And that's why we're talking about people-centric transformation. When you invest in your people, they will create best-in-class business processes. And when you invest in your people, they will create technology to help automate those processes to drive efficiency and effectiveness. So maybe I could just ask Pavi at this point, maybe you could speak briefly on the foundation. Technology is absolutely critical to business transformation. Maybe you could say a few words there, Pavi.
Yeah, sure, Christine. I think, as you and Nitin rightly mentioned, the Industry 5.0, additionally bringing, when I say additionally, apart from Industry 4.0, it is bringing the people-centric personalization and also the sustainability. So in the Industry 4.0, it's more a mission to mission. When it comes to 5.0, we are now looking at collaboration between a mission to human. So human to mission collaboration. So that is definitely bringing in a lot of human centric innovations and personalizations. So if you see the three things, like whatever you mentioned, like the transformation, the Industry 5.0, and the modernization. So I see Industry 5.0 as a vision, while transformation or a business transformation is a more a strategy, while IT modernization is about execution engine. So as we I think Nitin mentioned, sustainability is a new angle. Everyone are talking about. Even World Economic Forum also introduced, as part of their house network, the sustainability lighthouses. So around 17 organizations are identified in this space. So I think a lot of emphasis while doing this transformation on the sustainability and human-centric aspects, Christine. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's it's excellent perspective, and I think when we consider all of this, as we've noted here on the right side, business transformation is also a journey, and as we are implementing this transformation, it's significant change, and again, it affects people, and so whenever we're embarking on such a journey, we really have to make sure we're considering best in class organizational change management so that the change that we're implementing will actually be used and adopted by the people. Because we can have the best in the world of whatever technology we're doing. And as you mentioned, we won't be able to sustain it if people don't embrace it, if people don't use it and adopt it, it won't be successful.
Awesome. So I think that sets the tone, right? Like in terms of the whole people-centric business transformation aspect of it. And Pavithran touched on it very briefly in terms of the whole the technology aspect, laying the foundation, as well as there's an element of modernization that typically comes about when people move from an earlier phase to a new phase, right? So uh, what are the key aspects or the key roles of modernization that you feel uh, is really sort of defines a successful people-centric or business transformation journey itself?
Thank you. Another really good question. When an organization is embarking on some kind of transformation, whether it's enterprise, whether it's functional, if this case we're talking about modernization of our technology, and we want to be people centric, we aspire to what we call COMO. I just told you the story about COMO, so you'll see these values, COMO. And we live by these, and these are not only the values, it's actually our transformation methodology. So no matter what you're embarking on, it has to start with clarity. You have to have clarity of the vision of what your program is supposed to deliver, what it is going to do for the business, what it's going to do for the people. Like you've got to, we talk about dream in high definition, like really know what that outcome or the end state should be. We hear the quote, begin with the end in mind. This is it. Start with clarity. The next is ownership. And this is a huge one. When you're undertaking transformation and you think people centric, please, guys, if you're listening, watching, it's not just HR's responsibility. Oh, it's people, so HR will handle that. No, it's every single leader, every single employee from the top to the bottom of the organization. Everybody has a role to play. So what is that role? And if you're implementing technology, obviously your IT department has that subject matter expertise to be able to develop the right strategy and drive that and make sure that that technology is implemented and managed using all kinds of best practices. And the users of that technology, there's training involved, there's automation of business processes, there's simplification, there's streamlining, there's all of that involved. So everybody has a role to play and they've got to take ownership of that journey. The next is mindset, and this might sound a little bit soft, but it's actually really important. And a quote that I live by is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So if you're embarking on something huge and enormous, like imagine it's like climbing this huge mountain. If you're at the beginning of that journey and you're like, yeah, that's never going to happen. It's a good goal, but it's never going to happen. Then guess what? It's not going to happen. But if you're embarking on that and you say, you know what? I've trained for this moment. I have the right skills. I have the tools and I have the team, and we are going to climb that mountain together. You're going to do it. So mindset from the top leader to the middle management to the employees, that have to embrace what is being implemented mindset is absolutely key to success. And last is what we call one of a kind, and that's really understanding your differentiators. So when a company is undertaking a transformation, why are they doing that? Are they trying to capitalize on an opportunity so that what they are implementing will give them a competitive advantage in the industry? Are they trying to fix a problem? What are they trying to do? And how does that develop strengths and help set your company apart from its competitors in the marketplace? So it's a very, I would say, summarized version of this, but all of those aspects that I've just described that follow the acronym COMO, all of those are required for successful transformation. So if you're undertaking a modernization program to transform your technology, keep these COMO values in mind. And last, but certainly not least, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but only 70% of transformation programs, 70% of transformation programs fail. Only 30% succeed. So if you want to be part of the 30% that succeed, you have to think about your people. And that's why people-centric is so critical to success. And that's what I like about the Industry 5.0, where I feel like we're kind of getting back to basics of human-centric, because it's about business, but businesses are made up of people. And so we have to think about the people.
Fantastic. Thanks, Christine. I think you could not have made that very clear in terms of how each of these pillars play an important role in people-centric business transformation itself, right? So leading from that, I think Pavithran, over to you, right? Like in terms of the foundation from a technology aspect of this, right? So the modernization element in terms of how do you go from before to after, and be it from different aspects of the technology side, right? So can you possibly give us some insights into what are some of these practical strategies in this journey? It could be pretty broad as well, but also just to sort of understand, when you sort of suggest these kind of technology modernization journeys for customers or the industries, how would you sort of go about this? And some of these practical approaches would really sort of give us some depth into this whole thing.
Yeah, Nitin. I think Christine made a very good point. Only 30% are, 20 to 30% transformations are, successful. So definitely people aspects, the cultural aspects play a very important role. Along with that, having a right, technology, stack plays an important role. So if you see the legacy applications, they are very resource intensive, demands more resources, so the cost. So most of the time CAOs are under pressure to keep the cost minimal. So that is one of the key element, from the transformation point of view, why modernization is required. And the next one is the business strategy. So as part of the IT strategy, or the guiding strategy for IT is the business strategy. Unless I align with the business strategy, I'll not be really able to, make my business successful or play an enabler role. So for that, modernization, is critical, which is part of the IT strategy. Not only modernizing, and also addressing the technical debt. How my systems are falling behind the modern infrastructure point of view. How do I enable my business to scale, to new regions with no time? So in the legacy, landscape, it is very difficult for us to go to different regions. And if we look at from the industry 5.2 point of view, right, the sustainability. So how do we really bring in that perspective of sustainability into reality with the technology point of view is We know that most of the data generated, or 60 to 70% of the data is generated in layer level 0 and level 1, right? Unless we have that technology platform integrating both OT and IT seamlessly, and bringing the data to the top layers, and giving that visibility on how scope 1, scope 2 emissions are you know um, released from these organizations, will not be able to bring that sustainability angle. So if you see from the business strategy point of view, the addressing the technical debt point of view, sustainability point of view, modernizing the technology stacks play a very important role. So apart from that, we can also reduce the infrastructure cost to 35%. Somewhere I read recently, and also the applications maintenance costs can be reduced to 50%. So keeping all these business strategies right in mind, we need to definitely look towards modernizing the technology and the applications and the infrastructure. So we definitely frameworks are proven. So companies like Utthunga, who has the understanding from level 0 to level 5, with these modern frameworks will be able to address these CIO challenges very aptly. No, that's what you see on the screen, the framework, one of the proven framework. Like, how do we assess, how do we mobilize the resources and strategize, and uh, treat these different applications infrastructures from the transformation point of view, so that we have the lightweight systems which are scalable and manageable over a period of time. Nitin, Christian, you want to add
Fantastic.
anything quickly?
Yeah, I would just add, and it was something you said at the beginning that I think people really, it sounds simple, but it's so critical. And I love, as CIO, that you're saying this. The IT strategy has to align to the business strategy. It has to. And I think the framework you've got here with clear steps that you've described, I think it's best in class for sure. And I love that you're showing business metrics that can be accomplished by modernizing IT. But you hit the nail on the head with alignment. That is absolutely fundamental.
Fantastic. So I think without sort of waiting around, right? So I think what I'm also excited to listen to, Pavithran, is this sort of framework put into practice, right? Like, I'm sure you have a few interesting use cases and sort of good stories behind this, right? So just
Yep.
want to understand the business impact of this, like Christian mentioned, right? So in terms of how you went about it, and that might also give us, as well as the audience, a little more perspective into the journey.
Yep. Yeah. So, we have seen the framework. However, it's not a hard and fast rule. We need to follow 100%. There would be, case by case, some changes in the process. So, when generally we look at the problem statement, or we look at for example, in this case study, one of the tools manufacturing company, they were struggling with the lead times, the manufacturing, capability, the scalability, and so when we started working with them, we started putting our frameworks into work, right? We started understanding their value stream mapping. We you know done a lot of discovery. During the discovery phase, we have done a lot of workshops, understand their complete value stream mapping, understand what are the candidates we can automate, what are the candidates we can eliminate and digitize. So not only from the technology point of view, we look at from the business re-engineering point of view also, because some of the application may not be even required, and some can be like integrated. So when we do the application rationalization, and also look from the not exactly shadow IT point of view, but many times business will have their own Excel sheets where they will be doing rolling plans in the Excel sheet, or some demand planning in the Excel sheet, which may not be, integrated with the overall schema of things. So unless we break these silos following this framework, when we do this, complete value stream mapping, we identified what are the, gray areas, and what are the candidates we need to address, and what are the, applications we need to retire, and what needs to be migrated, what should be, migrated to cloud. So once we have this strategy in place, we again, prioritized. It is very important to really gain confidence from business, right? Unless we have quick wins, it is very difficult for us to have that motivation, momentum, and commitment from business. And also, most of the time business leaders have their own KPIs, so we need to align these quick wins and the outcomes of these, uh, project KPIs with the leadership KPIs, and see how we can bring that, engagement with the right stakeholders, and start implementing this as per the framework, what we have just showed. So this has resulted in huge savings, and also they could see the return on the investment in the 2 years itself. And we supported, as part of our managed services, the complete, during the control phase. So they could save about 1.4 million annually, and also they could avoid some of the costs, and some working capital, because this allowed them to increase the capacity, right? Otherwise they were not clear how do they schedule, how do they use the capacity optimally. So this really helped them to uh, some of the capital reduction also resulted in almost close to 2 million in that horizon. So that's one of the case study, anything.
Fantastic.
You know,
I think maybe if Christine, you want to add something.
I do. I do. I think you've done an excellent job summarizing this. I like seeing these benefits. Obviously, 300 ROI, 300% ROI is fantastic. To me, what I love the most about this is what you've got stated in the challenge. And it's the company aims to boost sales by 50% in 3 years. So many leaders that are not in IT, so we'll call them business leaders, there's a perspective that IT, okay, yes, we need IT, but it's about cost cutting. You're not going to cost cut your way to transformation, death by a thousand cuts and all that. Yes, what you're describing is you're simplifying the landscape, you're modernizing it, you're bringing this value. But here is a program where whoever set this up is seeing that we can leverage technology to grow. And that's where I just love where we're talking about growth through transformation. And yes, you're going to get savings. Yes, you're going to get efficiencies. But to me, even more important than that in this case study is the clarity to say, hey, we can use this to grow. And that is truly transformative.
Fantastic. I think you summarized that perfectly. So let's see if we have some questions. If not, we will probably will this will be live. So and it will be available on our LinkedIn channel. So we can always get back to these questions at any point of time. But okay, so nothing as of now. So maybe any final thoughts from you, Christine, before we sign off? I think it was super exciting and we even packed for 30 minutes.
No, it's my pleasure. I love talking about transformation. I would come back to our values, and if you are a leader, whether it is of a department, an organization, or an entire enterprise, and you believe that you want to undertake a true transformation, start with clarity. Like, really ask yourself, do you have clarity of why? What are you trying to accomplish in that whole beginning with the end in mind? And don't constrain yourself. Think big. There's a book, and I'm forgetting the author's name right now, and I hate that, but there's a book called The Power of Clarity. And it is fantastic. And so many business problems can be avoided if you just start with clarity. And so if as a leader you have clarity of what it is you want to undertake, you help your staff, your team, you help the people understand why. People don't want to just be told what they need to do. They want to understand why they're doing what they're doing. So start with clarity, start with why. You've got some great resources here, both with Utthunga and with the Como group. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to either of us. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I think just to sort of maybe Pavithran, if you have any final words.
I think what Christine said. Have the clarity and have right partners in place. That's like
Yes.
a good beginning is half done with the right partners. So I think with that, summarize. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. So I think definitely right. Just taking the aspect of clarity in mind. So uh, so the reason we wanted to sort of do this first session, it's part of a broader series on modernization from a tech angle, right? But it was also very important before we get into the nitty-gritties of the technology involved to understand the business and the people context, and that's one of the reasons maybe uh, we had the clarity. So we got Christine on board, and we're glad that we were able to kick this off. So in our upcoming sessions in a few days, we will delve into a little more details on the modernization aspect of technology in terms of the applications, the platforms, and all of these, right? So we'll get into a lot more tech in our upcoming sessions, but I think this sets the tone for the rest of it. And I can't thank Christine and Pavithran more. Thank you for being part of this again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It's been my
So
pleasure.
if any questions do come across, we'll definitely get back to you with those answers on the comments. And yeah, and thanks everyone for being part of this, and we'll stay tuned for some more sessions like this. Thanks,
Okay.
Thank
thanks
you.
guys.
Thank you.